So yeah, see our content. So, welcome guys to another episode of Perpetual Beta.
Episode 3?
Yeah, episode 3, Perpetual Beta.
Number.
So, we're keeping it going. It's good to have you guys back. So, it's that special time of year again. All of the
TV shows!
TV shows! All the new shows are out. So, let's talk about those for a second.
Let's talk about the shit show that it is. Let's go. Where are we starting? Flash? Green Arrow? My problems with Supergirl?
Let's start with the worst first. So,
Supergirl?
Legends of Tomorrow and Arrow.
Oh, Legends of Tomorrow.
Legends of Tomorrow and Arrow are still.
I forgot about Legends of Tomorrow. It's that bad.
Are still terrible.
Legends of Tomorrow has been terrible since day one. Is there a comic book basis for that show?
Loosely. I mean, here's the problem, right?
Loose, like, who's asshole?
This is my issue with it, and I think everybody can agree with this. Like, the problem with the show is that, like, they said it in, like, the second episode. Like, these are, like, side characters.
Yes.
These are the sidekicks who they're, like, let's bring them all into one show, and maybe, like, we can put something viable together.
That always happened in every comic book. Of course the sidekick comic books did oh, wait, they never did well? All of them are always terrible because the reason they're sidekicks is because people don't like them as much?
Right.
Imagine that.
Well, the problem is...
Except for Hot Girl. Hot Girl never was a sidekick. She was never a super main character. She never had a really good she never had a good comic book. Maybe people will disagree.
I don't even know what to say about Hawk Girl because her continuity is like so convoluted.
It's so bad.
I have no idea.
Bad. Egyptian princess.
Or alien. They can't never decide which one it is. And they try to combine them. They're like, well, which one is it? It's yes.
Yes. Don't ask questions. Don't doubt me. I'm the Lord of this universe. Yeah, and then... Yeah, it's just a shame. So, don't watch it.
I forgot she's in the show, actually. I remember seeing her in this episode. I don't know if something happened to her last season.
I don't know. Hawkman died.
Hopefully that's not spoiled.
Hawkman died how soon on?
Dude, they killed him immediately.
Yeah. Like did everyone hate him? What was that about?
Episode they killed him. Well, I mean, so one comic book podcaster talked about that whole thing was like, the whole, like, free will versus fate has been, like, a theme throughout the show. Which I can see, because you're dealing with Time Lords. And then, like, Hawkman, he's like, we're destined to be together. Apparently, Hawkman is a Provo boy.
Yeah. But that's how it is in the comic book. I mean, that's how it is in continuity.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, their power comes from. I mean,
I guess that's the one thing from their continuity that's consistent.
Yeah.
They're apparently destined to be together.
This whole discovering powers bullshit. Fuck off.
Yeah, it's weird. And then Hawk Girl is like, oh, she's like a Provo woman. Like, I did my own fate. I didn't do it by myself. Which is fine. That's understandable. Because, I mean, if somebody was telling me I was destined to be with them, too, I'd be like... That's like a whole new topic in and of itself.
Yeah, nah.
We talked about it last time. Like, God told me they're supposed to be together.
Yeah, there's much danger in that. Cool if you want to feel that way. Cool if you feel that way. Don't fucking say that. No, sorry. Don't say that. I probably should work on that. My family will see this one day, maybe.
I know, right? I'm trying to work on it.
Listen, they all know I swear. They just don't like hearing that word.
I'm trying to work on my swag. But I climb. And, like...
When you mess up and cut skin off your fingers somewhere.
Yeah, when I... Yeah.
Words happen.
When you slip off a hold and, like, you lose skin and you hit the ground and, like, ass rocket into the floor, like, it's hard not to... Ah!
I can't tell you how many times I've been, like, working on my car and I, like, slipped and not broke my hand, but, like, cut my hand or something. Words come out. Bad things happen. I broke tools. I broke 2 pairs of headphones.
Oh.
Anger problems.
Oh.
Worked on that. Worked on it.
I mean, I don't work in cars as much. I don't think I've broken any tools, but something I'm surprised I think should be broken, like according to the laws of physics, but somehow isn't, is my controllers.
Consoles. I've broken my controllers.
Like, dude, when I was a freshman in college, like I went on this like Ninja Gaiden kick.
And like, dude, I remember did you bring Ninja Gaiden back to our place back in the day? I played the shit out of that.
Dude, that game was amazing, but it's so frustrating. Like.
You know what game I loved though was Dark Souls. You ever play Dark Souls?
No, but I heard that game's incredibly frustrating.
But it's fun. Just every minute thing that you do has to be perfectly timed in some points, and it just makes it fun. I used to go to my friend's house, grab his PS4, take it out of his room into the other room, and plug it into his TV, and just play for hours.
Sometimes it's fun to get your ass kicked. Like being in a relationship with a passionate woman.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Anyway, oh yeah, TV shows.
Back to TV shows.
No.
We were on the worst of all.
The worst of all, which is Legends of Tomorrow.
And then what did you say was the second?
Followed by Arrow.
No, did you say there was another one? Oh, hold on. What's that other one? Not Legends of Tomorrow. It's the DC one. S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, that's not DC. That's Marvel.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But
Sorry.
That one's also terrible.
Also terrible. Correct.
I'll be honest. I haven't bothered watching because it lost me. Like
episode 4, maybe.
Dude, I forced myself to watch like 3 episodes, and I had a roommate who's obsessed with it. He watched it religiously. I cannot stand that show.
It's bad.
They tried to rescue it by putting Ghost Rider in there, which. I mean, I don't know. You guys in the comments, like, let me know.
Did the Ghost Rider movies ever do well?
as one of my beloved YouTube stars said, Ghost Rider is a really cool tattoo, nothing more. And yeah, every time he says it, I'm just like, whoa.
That's so good. Ghost Rider is really good. Oh, okay.
He's a really cool tattoo. That's about it. So they intended to rescue that show by putting Ghost Rider in there. I'll leave it to you guys to watch it and let us know how it is.
No. He's being too nice. It's shit. It's shit. You can watch it if you want. Understand you're literally bathing in shit. You're taking a dump, multiple dumps in the bath, filling it up with shit water, and just laying in it. That's all you're doing. Don't waste your time.
Well, I haven't watched it, so maybe Magic got better, but I'm guessing it did.
With Ghost Rider? Ghost Rider. That's like saying syphilis makes my dick better. It just no.
When your dick was already really small. No. Sorry, more dick jokes.
Dicky jokes.
So anyway, so there's that. I didn't even think about it because it's barely a show in my mind.
Mm-hmm. So now to Arrow.
I'm just making so many people mad right now. But also,
tell me why it's a good show. Tell me why it's a good show.
Yeah, tell us why it's a good show.
That's you. If you want to prove it is, tell me why, and send me money.
I don't know. There's certain shows I just can't force myself to watch anymore. I'll watch like little clips and summaries on YouTube, and I'm still rolling my eyes. So. Yeah, the closest I've ever come to being interested in Legends of Tomorrow was that guy's synopsis where he talks about the whole free will versus fate. Because he includes some philosophy. That was interesting, but I was like, I'm still not going to watch it.
Yeah, the philosophy has nothing to do with the comic.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I tried to watch 4 episodes and I fell asleep every time. Like 15 minutes in, and I wake up on my floor and I'm like, oh, well.
Covered in shame.
Covered in shame. I want that last hour of my life back. Yeah.
All right. So
then there's Arrow.
I actually think that Supergirl is worse than Arrow, but we can go to that after.
Well, yeah, talk about Supergirl. I'll be honest, I haven't watched it.
So I love Superman. Superman is my jam. Supergirl, also my jam. She's a badass in all the comic books. When she gets the red ring and becomes a Red Lantern.
Really cool story.
Oh, fantastic. But it is an absolutely terrible show. And I feel it's just an excuse, and I will also make people mad, to push feminist ideals. Not all of feminism is bad. Some of it's fucking ridiculous, and there's just way too much of women can do everything by themselves and we're empowered. Be empowered. Try to do everything yourself. But even in the show, it shows she's always resistant to receiving help and always resistant to receiving help and always resistant, and it comes up again and again, and it always gets her fucked. And yes, they show that in the show, but she keeps doing it. And she's not learning from it. And it just drives me insane. I still watch the show because I am a Superman fanboy. Also Supergirl fanboy. We were saying earlier how when New 52 released Superman and released his solar flare power, I immediately read it and said, this is dumb. How can I defend this because I love Superman? Couldn't do it. And that's just kind of the same way I feel with the show. I'm probably going to continue watching it. Covering myself in shame once again and again and again.
To bathe in the shame.
But it's just terrible. And they pulled Jimmy Olsen, one of Superman's best characters, and they brought him as a possible love interest to Supergirl. And there's just and they brought in that she works for a news organization just like Superman does, and they have the whole I figured it out, you're Supergirl, and then I need to pretend that I'm not Supergirl, and so Martian Manhunter converts into Super. That's stolen. That's stolen. Right?
Like, sorry.
No, go.
No, if you want to like push like feminine ideals or ideas in like a positive light,
yeah,
then the OG feminist Wonder Woman.
Yes.
Wonder Woman is amazing.
Supergirl.
Like, everything she does, like her story. I love Wonder Woman.
Yes.
And so like maybe it's like I'll admit I'm one of those guys like when I love a superhero, like when another hero comes who's like them, I'm like F that guy. Because like I'm the same way with like Moon Knight and Batman. Like people like Moon Knight is a crazy Batman. That's really cool. And I'm like fuck Moon Knight. Like
Batman's crazy. He's got a handle on it. That's right? So much better than
like I'll even admit when I first found out about Black Panther, I'm like, looks like an African Batman to me.
No, hold on. He's dope though.
Yeah, he's cool. When I learned about him, I was like, all right.
Yeah. But he definitely is. But that's different.
Yeah. But to make that point about like Wonder Woman, Supergirl, like I'm like way into Wonder Woman. Some people are like, oh, Supergirl. I'm like,
Well, then Supergirl came in originally as like all right, this is someone Superman can help and build up, and she had a different role. And the way they're using her now is not as something to be built. Well, and she is building herself, but not that there needs to be dependence on Superman, but that was her storyline, was learning from her cousin when she was meant to teach her cousin and dealing with that pain in herself. And she still goes through that a little bit, but he's never there. The only communication they have is these bullshit text messages not even text messages on the computer. Jesus. Messages on the computer. Yeah, okay. And then he comes in like twice to save her ass, and they have refused to show his face because they don't want to spend money on a real actor and they just do CGI instead.
Well, they have real actor now.
No, I probably haven't gotten all the way through that season. Because I know
I don't know if you see his face till like the second season. Though.
But like, yeah. But why? Why are you hiding Superman? To make it a big reveal? No, he should be there from day one. That's why Supergirl works. It's kind of like the Robin of Batman in a little way. So that's kind of
and that's the question everybody's asking now that like Superman showing up is that like are they going to show like the rest of the big three in the TV universe? Is the TV universe going to have like their own version of everybody? Which I don't know.
Do you want to see a Batman show? Do you want to see a Wonder Woman show?
So this is a great segue into Flash because like
because
the Batman show question is like the same reason why I haven't started watching season 2 of the Flash yet. Mm-hmm. Like Flashpoint is really good, Batman is really good, and I'm worried they're gonna fuck it up.
And that he was telling me I didn't realize that Flashpoint was gonna be in the season of Flash, and immediately worried about that.
Right.
Just because that is such a huge event, and you need all of the superheroes. You need the Justice League.
I mean, I see how they can do it like within the show, with those characters. But like I don't know, Flash has been going pretty good, and so I'm like, whenever like a show's been going on for a while, and we were talking about this a little bit ago, I get nervous about. Because there's only so much story.
Season 3 is the beginning of shit, and if it gets to season 4, it's garbage. That's that's superhero shows. Like that's most shows. I feel like
it's a lot of shows. Like for example, we were talking earlier about I don't know if I ever watched this, and my memory is flawed. I don't know if it was actually good, but I watched Falling Skies for a few seasons. Mm-hmm. But after like the third and fourth season, I was like,
I'm gonna watch the first.
I was like, all right, like.
Keep extending that.
Those udders are pretty dry. There's nothing coming out the cat.
I call that the Harry Potter. When they started breaking up one book into 2 movies. That was the beginning of the end for just jerking money out of nothing. And it is forever, since that day, it is just completely fucked. And I use that word on purpose. Fucked. TV and movies in general. Because it's like, if we jerk this off long enough, we can get more money? And in the sacrificing stories, and because people are completionists and want to finish the seasons, they're going to finish them? I hate that. Yeah. And here I am still watching Superman.
I guess we're just going to piss off everyone today. But I read the books when I was a kid. I got bored eventually.
I haven't seen past the 5th or 6th movie. I don't know.
I think I read through like the 3rd book maybe.
Dude, I killed those books. I read through all of them. I read the first one like 7 times. I read the second one as many, and then the 6th and 7th I only read like 1 time. I was older then. I just wanted to finish it.
Maybe they remedied this after like the 3rd book. My problem with it was that like, so first of all, like I have a hard time with anything that's kind of high schooly. Like I'm so over that.
Yeah.
But also like some books series feel like a sitcom. Where I'm just like we have like this formula, and like every new book is like, all right, like let's just fill in the blank with this, and this, and we got our formula for this book series. Like, I kind of feel like that.
Well, every story to a degree is a formula. There's the hero story that what doesn't follow,
Yeah, but I mean, when a story is good enough, I feel like I pay less attention to that.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Harry Potter, like, it was like. Cool, like, all right, like this, okay.
Yeah, I mean, if I went back, I couldn't reread those books now, and I meet girls way too often who are obsessed with Harry Potter, and I'm like, how old are you? You realize that's a children's book, right? And you base parts of your life off of it, and you still talk about it to this day. Do you know how dumb you sound? I'm sorry if you love Harry Potter.
Well, I mean,
move on.
People can say the same thing about us in comics, though. And it's not true. I mean, obviously, comics are made for adults and children. Yeah. Like, depending on which comic you're reading. But like, people can assume that, Like, I'm sure girls have heard when I say something like I love Batman, they're probably like, oh, like what a child, They don't realize how serious.
When you say I love Hermione Granger, I want to slap you in the face. Not in real, not actually. I don't condone violence against women. Wholly condone violence against men. Completely okay. Yeah, that's probably sexist, but you'll appreciate it.
Right. Well, that's like a thing though. Like like anybody's thing. Like you can we talked about this before, like stigmas.
Yes.
I'm sure plenty of people think if I talk about learning a great lesson from like a comic book video game, they're like
roll their eyes.
Yeah, they roll their eyes. And like I restrain the urge to like tell them how like meaningless like anything that humans come up with really is.
Yeah.
Like there's a great episode by several YouTubers about like kind of like the philosophy of the Joker and like his whole mentality. But a lot of it really does come down to the fact that the Joker like recognizes how flimsy our morality is.
Yes.
And how like our values are like so.
Well, that's what makes him the most interesting villain.
Is that he just destroys those things so easily. Yeah. And so like anybody's stuff, anything that someone holds dear, you can take it and just like. I'm trying to refrain from using the F word again, but fuck it. Anything someone holds dear, like is close to them, you can take it.
You can do what with it? You already said fuck it. You got to use it now.
but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. We done with that was Supergirl.
That's Supergirl. We kind of talked about Arrow.
I find her adorable. I find the characters entertaining in some points. I do love how she does have a really good female role model who is her boss that teaches her a lot of things. There are benefits of the show for sure.
Yeah.
But there's a reason it has 3 stars on Netflix.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
All right.
So is that. And then a lot of people love Arrow, and I just can't.
I liked Arrow. I don't watch it right now, but I did enjoy. I didn't say into the second season. The first season I really liked. Second season I was super into it. I was less into it. I was still into it. However, you do bring up many good points.
Yeah. Yeah. Like so many comic book YouTubers have said these same things, but like, so first of all, like in the comic books, his sense of humor and his like liberal ideals are like an important part of who he is. Otherwise, he's just a poor man's Batman.
Uh-huh.
But without either of those things, like so much of the show, like and so many of the plots, like whenever I force myself to watch an episode, I'm like, great, like they're just ripping out of Batman, like except he's like a teenage Batman who's like more angry and broody than Batman.
Yeah.
Like
they did bring in one slight comedic thing. You know how he used to always use the punching bag, well not the punching bag, the punching glove arrows.
Yeah, yeah.
He does that at one point in the show where he sticks an arrow into a boxing glove and he shoots it at somebody.
I can appreciate.
I liked it.
Yeah.
While understanding that in real life the arrow would then go through the boxing glove into that person. It wouldn't work at all. And I was like, but it was cool. I enjoyed that throwback to comics. I'll give him that.
But yeah, like, you know, Oliver Queen in the show, like, yeah, he is a dick in the comics as well. But like,
but he's a funny dick.
But he's a funny dick.
He's a funny asshole.
And he can be intense and he can be like, you know, like serious, but like it's offset by like the occasional humor, you know. Sometimes he's like really like hilarious and sarcastic. And that kind of like one of the things that made him really interesting as far as his role in the superhero community was kind of like his liberal ideas, you know, where you have a lot of like clean cut, very like conservative heroes, like for example his team up with Green Lantern, where it's like, you know, Green Lantern's like, you know, like depending on like the continuity, like, you know, kind of like former military, like, you know, clean cut conservative dude, where you got Oliver Queen, he's his beard and his long hair.
But they also have a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
Whereas they have that kind of playboy vibe. They have that joking vibe that they both do have. Yeah. But then that conservative liberal.
But it creates cool tension because you have that thing that unites them. And obviously they're like united in purpose, but then you have these different ideas you can also like play with to kind of like create like an interesting tension, an interesting like interaction between these characters, and it made Oliver Queen really really cool. Because otherwise, like, why would you care about a guy who shoots arrows on a team where you have a guy who can like move a planet with his strength?
Was Hawkeye or Green Arrow first?
I forgot. We should check into that.
I think I'm not gonna say because I don't know, but I wonder if he was just like a copy.
A lot of times DC has made heroes first, and then Marvel has.
Yeah, but I know there are some exceptions, and I wonder if that's one, and I don't know. But yes, the Green Arrow show, I think I really did enjoy the first season, but he never got to the funny. He never got to the entertaining. They just stuck with the endless love triangles between all of their characters. Which, yeah, it's entertaining, and yes, I understand why it's on TV, because that has a lot to do with people, and we've all been in love triangles or in love lives or had issues, and that's entertaining. That drama is entertaining to watch, and us as humans enjoy it. But they are just banking on that shit so hard.
Well, something that needs to happen, like, to some extent, like, there still needs to be drama for you to be into it.
Yeah.
So a lot of stories like kind of depend upon like the unresolved love, like dramatic tension of like love issues and stuff. But there still needs to be some growth within all of that.
And you don't see that.
Yeah, and that's the only problem I have. I don't.
The growth that Arrow had was he stopped killing people.
Yeah.
But then sometimes he battles with that still, which I guess is interesting to see. But there's not enough there.
Yeah. It's and I can't be mad at them. That's a hard balance to strike, and I understand. Like, I feel like in the beginning, like Arrow was like a little experimental with like his personality, and like maybe they're trying to be safe and like trying to like play in some Batman elements. But now it's like, you know, we have the Flash, and it's like it is a lot like the actual like, you know, Barry Allen, you know, from the comics. It's working well.
Although he's a skinny little bitch.
I mean, he's a good actor, though.
He is. He does great. He does great. You know, I talk shit, but honestly, he does really well.
But like with Arrow, it's like, what are you waiting for now? Like, to make the Arrow like more like the rep.
And the way I see the Arrow in a lot of ways is, we want to make a Batman TV show. Let's put Arrow in front of this and see, because he's a more disposable character. And if it doesn't work with him, oh well. Yeah. Or we can try again with Batman.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that, but I don't know. It's frustrating to like see them like trying to like Batmanize Arrow.
Yeah. Well,
where it's like certain heroes work because they are that hero. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, this, like, one of my favorite YouTubers, Soccer Belly, went on a rant about this, where he's like Batman is not like a box that you can like shove other heroes through and have money come out the other side.
Exactly.
So, yes. Like, you have to start like, you have to stop like Batmanizing everything.
Well, but that is the exact way people see it. They're like, oh, Batman is the best superhero movie that has ever been, so we just do what they did in that and make money.
But it doesn't work that way. Like, the hero needs to make sense within the universe you put him in.
But the people that decide who gets the money for what TV shows think it works that way.
Yeah.
And you're wrong. give your writers creative freedom. There's too many hands in the pot. There's too many people trying to do shit. Just stop.
Yeah.
And let the writers do what they need to do.
Yeah, and I mean, and a lot of comic book YouTubers have like ranted about like things like issues with like marketing people and editorial and these kind of.
That's the problem with media in general. That's why so many people go to YouTube. That's why so many people go to independent media, because the media that we watch on TV is utter bullshit. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Why do you think everyone goes to Netflix and Hulu and other places? Why do you think those organizations are doing 10 times better than classic cable television?
Because we're tired of people who want our money feeding us bullshit.
Yeah. We want people who want to provide entertainment for their money. And
right.
And eventually, guess what? Netflix is going to go down that same path because everyone gets greedy. Hulu's going to go down that same path. YouTube is going to go down that same path. And then new ones will have to create. This is a cycle that's always going to happen. Just a fucking frustrating cycle.
It's happening in our nation, too.
That's exactly what's happening.
A couple of clowns vying for the presidency. Speaking of clowns, I was at a festival last week, and there was a clown walking around.
Did you punch him in the dick?
Well, he was about to get jumped. It was a climbing festival. So first of all, that's like his first mistake.
Bad idea.
I don't know if he realized it was a climbing festival because like there's a bunch of strong, like muscular men and women like hanging out, camping, who like live in the wilderness. Prepared.
Everybody's mad at the clowns. We all hate you, and I know that's why you're doing it. But your bitch is gonna get killed. And people are going to die, and it's hard. If I see a clown hanging out in the park, you better believe I'm gonna hit him.
Right.
Or her. Not her.
Well, that's kind of.
I can't do that.
That's kind of my beef though with the whole clown issue though, is that like you can't expect us not to retaliate.
No.
When you're going around trying to scare people.
Exactly.
Like
you scare people, they're going to react in fear.
Right.
Or they're going to protect others. It's just going to happen. That's the nature of humanity.
Like, life does not work like a horror movie where everybody just gets scared and helpless.
No. For some people it does. For the people who are dressing up as clowns, probably. I've seen videos of those assholes getting beat up and being terrified. I'm sorry, stop hitting me. But no offense, you deserve to get your ass beat.
Well, that's what I mean, though, because they're getting beat up because, like, not all people are just going to be like, oh, no, clown. No. Like, I mean, I'm sure that's what a lot of them are looking for. That's why they're doing it, because it's, people get off on scaring people.
Yeah.
This is kind of how I feel about a lot of it. But, like,
Go work at a haunted house.
Right. Go work at
or get all of your clown asses together and make a haunted house.
Right.
People pay for that. You can make money.
But, don't be mad if you go out dressed like a clown and you get ass kicked.
Yeah, don't dress as a clown this Halloween. Don't do it.
Right.
Don't. Because if I see you, Superman's going to kick your ass.
I am dressing up as Spider-Man for Halloween.
There you go.
I feel like I have an obligation to whoop clown
Shoot some web over him.
Oh, it's so terrible.
They didn't see what I did. They just saw my hand. You guys know what I did. I didn't do this for a reason.
That's funny, because there's actually a script for a Spider-Man movie that they read on a YouTube show I watched. And, they didn't read it like line for line, but they kind of summarized it. And that was, like, one of the gags in the Spider-Man movie is that when he discovers his webs, he, like, wakes up and his like, sheets are full of, like, webbing. And I was like, oh.
Would that not be the biggest downside in the world of being Spider-Man? I'm sorry, buddy. You shooting web for the rest of your life. No more babies. No more sailors. Just sadness.
Well, I don't think it actually came from his.
I know.
But the implications.
I know.
Waking up the webbing in your.
It's so good. Good joke.
Right.
Put it in there somewhere, guys.
That was probably the best and worst part of the script.
Yeah. Yes. We'll laugh at that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we'll laugh at that, but at the same time, it's still disturbing. I'm like,
oh.
It's one of those things like you didn't really want anyone to know about that. It's like when you share a room with someone and that happens, like you try to like be all sneaky about like.
It happens to everyone. You just gotta own that shit. Own it, laugh about it, move on.
I don't know. I imagine the guy like I'm like sneaking in the bathroom, like clean up, and then
everyone's different.
Something happened to us? No, man.
Are you good, man?
Everything's good.
That reminds me of a story from my mission, actually. We're not gonna go into that.
All right. But I guess speaking of like shows that are coming out, the future of shows, there's a certain character that people are afraid to like bring out, although they keep making reference to him in TV shows. And like, I figure like he's got to come back in movies eventually. But the Green Lantern, and
well, they're scared for a reason. They've messed those movies up multiple times.
Yeah, but I mean, they messed up Deadpool too.
And then did
incredible. It's about reining in your reaction. Like, there's kind of this theme in the world, not to like sidetrack from like, we'll talk about the emotional spectrum, so we'll probably touch on this again anyway.
Yeah.
But like, the value of like reining in a tendency to like act extremely towards a situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I almost feel like sometimes I feel like our culture glorifies like
reacting extremely.
Reacting extremely.
It's entertaining.
And it's entertaining for the sake of like comedy when you're joking about things. But like in real life, like
it gets you. It's just bad.
Yeah. And I feel like it gets people in all sorts of trouble.
Oh yes.
I mean, again, if you're doing it for the humor and people understand that you're like just being ridiculous.
Oh, and I love to be that ridiculous guy sometimes. Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah,
it's fun. It's fun to be that guy, but you can definitely take it too far. And I've done that way too many times.
But it sometimes becomes an issue in like, like I've seen it become an issue in like friendships, and families, and relationships, where people are just like, where it's just like, what has happened is not proportional to the reaction you've had to it. Like if you react to like someone like showing up late, like a normal person reacts to someone getting caught cheating. I don't think you understand. Like that extreme reaction is not appropriate for the situation.
And then there are excuses. Well, you've shown up late this many times.
Well, except with me, that happens. Like doesn't happen very often.
Are you sure?
I'm usually pretty tired.
You don't live that stereotype?
with work, yes. but with dates, I'm usually pretty tired.
Oh yeah. Don't be late on dates. And if you do, have a good excuse and make it up to her/him.
Right.
Huh.
Like I've been late. Like I can count like maybe 2 in the last like year or so.
That's pretty good.
I'm usually pretty tired on dates.
Why aren't you married? Oh, emotional issues. Gotcha.
Yeah.
My ability. Everybody.
It's don't trust people anymore.
All right, so we get back on TV shows. Or are we done? Is there anything left?
Speaking of emotional issues, Green Lantern and Blackest Night, where we kind of see like the culmination of this conflict of the emotional spectrum. He admitted that it's like his greatest fear is getting close to people.
Yeah.
Because the whole issues of losing his dad. And you can see a lot of that complication in his relationship with Carol Ferris, where it's like they have really strong feelings for each other.
Plus they work together.
Right, but it's like I think mostly it comes from his side in most comic books a lot, but like his inability to like really like open up, actually really get close to her and really like seal the deal. And he even talks about that when he's talking about the other Green Lanterns, like for example, before Jon Stewart like lost his significant other, she got killed. But everybody knows that,
we don't believe in spoilers.
That's not spoilers. So don't be mad if a movie comes out that happens. Because anyway,
it's been in the books forever.
But like that's something he mentioned that he thought was admirable about Jon Stewart, is that like he was able to commit himself to like his significant other. She's actually his trainer as a Green Lantern, and they ended up like falling in love, and like they were like together. He admired how they found commitment where he was unable to. He really admired that, and I thought it was kind of cool.
Well, that kind of comes down to the point where why I think I enjoy comics so much, is that lesson is so good for everyone to hear, and that's why comics just have a tendency to. There's so many different heroes, and they're put in so many different situations, and they have to overcome so many things that it really can resonate with people. I think that's why we both like comic books, because watching our heroes overcome issues that we can relate with is really helpful. And Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, sees that in his own friend, Guy Gardner, Jon Stewart. And it's just, that's why we love comic books. At least for me, that's why I love comic books. Learning from imaginary, made-up characters, which they come from the brain of a human. So how imaginary and made-up are they?
A lot of it is like, comic books and a lot of pop culture. I was talking to someone about this, about video games, actually. Like, a lot of them are a lens, through which like we can like look at ourselves. The stories are written to tell about like what's going on in the world today, what's going on in our society. And to be able to be outside the story looking in, sometimes you recognize things that you don't realize being a part of it every day. Like you're so caught up in it every day. Sometimes it takes like reading something or experiencing something like to like media, to like a movie or a comic book.
That's why I love comedy.
Yeah,
comedy is kind of the same thing. Making jokes about terrible things that happen, while they can seem insensitive at times, really helps people sometimes get over them.
You can step back from the situation,
yeah,
and look at it and be like, oh, like I never thought about it that way, and sometimes realize that like, oh, like you know, with superheroes, like some like the emotional struggles they go through. Like there's sometimes I'm reading a comic, I'm like, oh shit, like I'm going through something like that, and I didn't realize it because I'm so caught up in it right now. But by reading it, I can step back and be like, oh, that's what's happening with me right now.
There's comedian, he has a special on Netflix, I think it's Bo Burnham or something like that, and I recommend that special to everyone that I talk to, because I'm like, he's the millennial comedian, he understands millennials, and he makes the right jokes, and then at the end gets so good, so deep, gets emotional, like starts making jokes and being serious about why he does comedy, and talks directly to people who are just sitting on their couch watching like just goes so deep, and it was freeing for me to watch and to experience and to be like, holy shit, he knows. And at the end of his special, I started tearing up, and it was just like an emotional release for me to watch that. And that's why we love media. That's why we love comic books. That's why we love these kind of things, because it helps you process.
Yeah, and a lot of like difficult situations, it can kind of provide a kind of catharsis, you know, like just this sense of like making peace with what's going on or what has happened, like, and just having its perspective to be able to resolve those feelings, you know. And that's valuable. That's why we pay money for these things.
Yeah.
You know? Like that's valuable to someone. People will pay for peace of mind.
Yes.
If you can offer people like a sense of peace or certainty or security, like people will pay for that. I mean that's why political pundits that do make terrible predictions are still really popular, because you know they make them sound really certain about things that you know they're really terrible at actually like understanding.
They have no idea.
They have no idea, but like
they literally just tell you exactly what you want to hear. They're not even guessing. They're like, oh, this is what our viewers want to hear. Right. We're gonna say this because this is who they want to win, and this will make them happy, and we'll continue coming back to consume our media.
Yeah, that's the two sides of I guess of that. Like you have the positive side of it, it's like really helping people actually face things. The other side of you're like you're deceiving people to make money, you know.
Well, and that's why so many people have problems with our media today. That's why, like we said earlier, people go to these other things. They don't trust the old media. They don't trust our parents and grandparents' media because they're liars.
Right.
The lot of them. You know, that's of course overgeneralizing, but I'm like I said, that's why.
Yeah, and I mean some of them like it's not even like intentional, like.
It's easy to fall into that without realizing you're doing it. Yeah, it's easy to start manipulating without realizing you're manipulating because you're focusing on yourself or focusing on your family and making money for them or whatever reason it may be.
Yeah.
And so you should understand and have that empathy to a degree of even people who are trying to manipulate you, because you've tried to manipulate people before in different ways than they do. You've hurt people for your own gain before without realizing it. Everybody's done it. Everyone will do it. But I think the difference is when you recognize you're doing that, you got to stop.
Yeah.
And you got to dial yourself back, and you got to get that control. And that's a big part of maturing and growing up. And that's a process we're all going through, and you don't stop going through.
Yeah. And that's the biggest issue. Like, we're all going to fall into situations where we'll, without checking ourselves, can, like, do bad things and be like, oh, crap. Like, giving into some, like, unpleasant tendencies. But I think a lot of it's about, like, recognizing that and checking yourself and, like, reining that in, you know? And whether that's like about stuff that's going on within you, or like how like things you're told and you just kind of accept it without like stopping to think like, wait a minute, you know, let's think about this for a second. And I think like that's starting to become a big thing in our culture, like the taking time to like stop and think, critical thinking about what's going on.
Yeah.
As opposed to just hearing something and being like, oh yeah, like
it. Oh, and I'm very, I felt myself go through that experience, you know, of taking time to stop and thinking about what I'm doing. And then I started recognizing it in other people, and then I started recognizing it in people from my generation. And now I see that it looks like so much of the world, or so much of our generation, or so much of America, or whatever it may be, is going through that same process, and that brings great hope.
Yeah.
For the future in general, because people are learning to be introspective and really to look at how they're affecting other people. Our generation loves to help. I think that, how many support this activism, donate money to this,
Yeah.
and we use the internet to help and to find problems and to help solve them, and it looks like it could be a very bright future. We just need to be like, fuck you, all old politicians, all your old ideas, because y'all are dumb, and you're manipulative, being assholes, and we just need to take over for a little while. Yeah. And eventually, parts of us will grow to be more corrupt, and there will be the separation, and then the next generation will do the same thing. Probably I've been through, I don't know, maybe I'm speaking bullshit, but it looks like a cycle.
It's not the first time this has happened in history.
No.
Like you said, it's a cycle. Like, when the printing press was invented, before, like, it brought about all, like, industrial revolution and all that, like, scientific and philosophical revolution, there was, like, hundreds of years of holy war. Because all of a sudden, people are like, now I can justify how I feel about things and get a bunch of other people.
It says this here!
Right? And
I can kill you for this reason here!
Right? And I can rally all these people to my cause. And, like, and I think we're seeing that, like, with the advent of the internet. The internet's still really young. Like,
it's been our lifetime?
Right? And so, like, with that, like, we see that same thing where people, at first, people are just trying to, like, find information to justify, like, how they feel and, like, impose that certainty upon the world. But, like, I think in time, as we learn to, like, process that information and weigh that information and recognize, like, as Nate Silver talks about, signal from noise, we can, like, begin to, like, take what is actually profitable and start using it to, like, help one another. And I think they're starting to see that shift. So I have hope for that, that, like, in time, like, we kind of, like, have experience in our lifetime, like, that whole, the holy wars of the internet, where it's like, we all believe this idea and we're gonna F everybody else.
Yeah, it very much is that way right now.
Yeah, but a lot of people are starting to catch on and realize, like, wait a minute, like, I need a way of actually, like, weighing information. And, like, someone who I've really been interested in a lot lately, and I'm sure my friends are tired of hearing about him, but Pierre-Simon Laplace.
You were working on a video about him.
That'll be up soon eventually.
Don't even say soon. People, they won't expect it. No one watches.
But in the 17th century, that was like, he came on the heels of like some great people like Sir Isaac Newton, for example. But at that time, when he was growing up in France, like, secularism was becoming popular because people had become so disillusioned with all of that religious conflict. And so, like, kind of like, so with Newton, he had discovered gravity, and people were beginning to wonder, like, okay, like, well, if gravity exists, like, what's keeping the planets from crashing into each other? And a lot of people, like, dismissed it as, well, divine providence. Like, because of God, like, things aren't, like, crashing on each other. But, like, because of that, like, kind of that disillusionment with religion, that was so prevalent in the culture at that time. Laplace was like, nah, man, like, I'm gonna use mathematics.
There's gotta be a reason.
Yeah, there's gotta be a reason. I'm gonna use mathematics to prove the stability of the universe. And so that became, like, kind of his life's work, is proving that. And so he came across the same problem as we did also, in that there was a lot of, like, complicated and contradictory information about what people had observed about the heavenly bodies and how they moved. And so he needed a way to look at all that information and try to weigh what was actually useful and could actually, like, lead to, like, a conclusion about something, that could actually prove something. Because, like, how are you going to prove that what is actually going on if all the information available is so contradictory, if it's so conflicting, it's so complicated? Like, how do you look at all that information and organize it into a way that, like, makes sense and can actually, like, be used to accomplish something or to gain a deeper understanding of something? And so, like, a lot of, like, the work he did is not dissimilar from, like, a lot of, like, the thought processes that we see emerging today, with, like, kind of representing man's ignorance as probability and learning to, like, take information and shift that probability based on that information, and that kind of idea of constant updating and whatnot to, like, kind of, like, make sense of all of this complicated information. And so, like, you can see that. So, like I said, like, it's happened before. I think it's happening again. We're kind of living in the holy wars right now. Everybody's like killing each other what they found on the internet.
Well, there are riots And there have been, huge issues based off of activism created online. We were talking about the clown issue,
Right.
and how, I mean, that guarantee you that shit started online. Guarantee you a whole bunch of assholes got together online. Let's do this, and then a whole bunch of copycats. There's just the internet kind of gives this ability of everyone. It's very beautiful because it gives you this ability to find like-minded people who think the same way you do, people who experience life the same way you do, and that finding people like that is very healthy. But challenging yourself is just as important.
Yeah.
And if you sit in an echo chamber for too long, you can go along with some really stupid shit.
Yeah.
And kind of like you said, learning to filter that and learning to recognize when groups have gone too far, or not even that. Just don't have this idea that just because you're part of a group you have to follow every bit of it. And I know that sways from a lot of religious ideals, but it's very dangerous just to sit and subscribe wholly to one ideal. It leads down. It's a path of ignorance. It's a path of being used and manipulated very easily, because you find a group like that, and you get one person who knows how to talk and will say what they want to hear. You can lead them quick. You can get them to do stupid things quick. Hitler. That's all he did. All he was a charismatic guy who understood a problem and was, I can take advantage of this problem and create anger to reach my goals. And we've seen that throughout history, people taking control of this anger or these opinions or these ideas and directing them for bad. And we need to get over that already. As humanity, as people, and as individuals, we need to get over that, because that is one of our biggest weaknesses.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you see a lot in like movements like, for example, like Black Lives Matter, and like the whole like the whole like black people and police conflict.
Dude, I've legit seen videos where like there's been groups of black people in the street screaming, "Are they white? Kick their asses! Get their asses! Are they white? No white people in our street!" Oh shit, we went backwards. Oh shit, now like you're legitimately being racist. You're legitimately beating people for the color of their skin.
Right.
And I understand you feel justified because it happened. Sorry, you can't feel justified. It didn't happen to you or your parents and most of y'all's grandparents either.
Right.
And they would be ashamed of you.
Yeah, and that's the danger of like not reining in those extreme emotions. That like you get caught in the cycle, the oppressed become the oppressor, and the oppressed become the oppressor.
And it will go.
Yeah.
And it will go.
And unless you rein in your feelings and learn how to think about things critically, that cycle will continue.
But I feel like a big problem is that entitlement is, this happened to me, so I need to get this to feel better. Or I need, someone hurt me in this way, so I have an excuse to hurt someone else in this way. Be better than that. Be self-aware enough to realize that's going to ruin your life if you just stick in that circle. And we've talked about it in our religion, the pride cycle that we talk about. Anger to pride, and anger to pride is a simple way of looking at it. But it's just that we see those cycles throughout humanity over and over again, and we, for some reason, all know we should learn from history, but really refuse to do it sometimes.
Yeah.
And until we break that,
I think
we are.
Yeah. I think what you mentioned is key though, like learning. I think like I've been reading Carol Dweck's book about mindset, and I think a lot of like that justice, I have to do bad now because bad was done to me. Like I think a lot of that comes from the fixed mindset when you feel like labeled by something that has happened to you or someone that's hurt you, and so now like you need to like lash out. A lot of that comes because like you've allowed that thing to label you, or to like when you're in a growth mindset, it's not that you aren't going to feel bad about things, but like instead of like accepting a label or trying to cast a label because of what was done, like you can look at the situation and understand that you need to learn from it and then begin to work towards applying what you're trying to learn from it. And so like you'll feel bad, like you might be frustrated, but you're going to keep moving. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing, because I think, and I was talking to a friend about this today, where it's like, and I think we had this conversation before too, where it's like sometimes like we get so hung up about people making people feel bad about things that have gone wrong or when they've done wrong. but most people already feel bad.
Yeah, I was talking about this today with my parents, and you know, they weren't bad at it. We were just talking about it. They weren't, you know, there was nothing wrong. But I said, you know, I don't need your help to make me feel guilty. I can do it all by myself.
Yeah.
And I promise I'm better at it than you are for me.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's, for me, it's that simple. Yeah, I don't need, you know, and I found myself doing that when a girl hurt me, or, you know, or a guy, one of my good friends, you know, our friendship fell apart and I just wanted to get back at him. You can't stay there. And everyone feels that emotion and everyone goes through that, but you gotta step above.
Yeah. I mean, Carol Dweck says it really well. And I don't remember the exact quote, but like, I guess to like summarize and to like, you know, paraphrase, basically the idea is we need to help people think and learn instead of like focusing on like judgment and punishment. And like, that's difficult, like, especially, I mean, for us, we're in a religious community, so I want to talk about like, and this is something that's like difficult that I think is hard to play a part in your mind if you don't like to kind of think about it, but there's a lot of talk about judgment and punishment.
Yeah.
And like, people say you're supposed to leave that to God, but like when you also at the same time tell people they're supposed to try to be like God, like there are implications about like in our own lives about like.
Well, and there is this idea of learning to judge righteously, which is not. It's important because it'll keep you safe. You know, if I see 3 people in the street who look dangerous, I should judge them by that for my own personal safety and maybe move to the other side of the street, or maybe turn around, or maybe prepare myself, or whatever. But some people take that as an excuse to, oh, you do bad things, I can't be around you. Or you do bad, or you do bad things, I won't let my children play with you, or whatever example it may be.
Yeah, it really comes down to like looking at a situation like and weighing in the information involved, as opposed to trying to impose the certainty of a label upon a situation, I think.
So it's really our job to filter all of those things. You know, filter. I mean, our job is to filter the media that we receive. Use our intellect to filter, you know, everything we receive, every new idea that we receive, and to have a good moral intellect to be able to do that. However, we are still human and flawed, and so you have to also recognize that. This kind of goes to the way I consume politics. I am I'm a political hobbyist, and but I don't trust anything almost that I hear, because I know it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
And so one of my techniques is to consume the most radical of each sides, and then kind of come back in, and then use myself as a filter. And I talk to people about that, and that's been brought up to my attention, and I think that's good.
Yeah.
But I also have to admit that I'm a flawed filter, and that my opinions and my ideas I'm going to interpret kind of both of those ideas, and I won't necessarily always find the truth that way. So I need to go to others, and I need to talk to others and debate healthily with people and test those ideas so I can mold them into the most correct truth I can find.
Yeah, I think consensus is definitely a helpful thing. Another thing that I've really been looking into, especially in light of like my recent studies about like Laplace, is like sometimes like to actually like record stuff somewhere and like assign like an actual number of probability, and like think about like the information you're getting, and think about how much weight like numerically you should assign to that information. Because the one thing I've noticed is that like there could be a tendency to overreact or underreact to information, and Philip Tetlock talks about this in his book. He talks about
every time you talk about a book, I look to check if it's around here. That one is.
Yeah. But he talks about Scylla and Charybdis. This idea that
you have to explain that.
It's the idea that came from like I think it was Greek mythology,
okay,
where there was like this rocky shoal, but there's also like a whirlpool, and so like the original idea was like lesser of evils kind of thing, but like he kind of used it to teach that like you need to like correct enough to stay between them, and so he used that as an example to talk about like not overreacting or underreacting. Sometimes we receive certain information, and because we don't think about like how much weight we should actually assign to it, we might underreact to it, or like this is a really significant thing, but because of like my state of mind, it doesn't matter. Or sometimes we receive information that like if we actually time to like weigh it, we would recognize like, it's not that big of a deal, but we overreact and get like intensely like extreme reaction about it,
So you mentioned assigning a number to it, assigning a value to it. Explain that for me a little bit. How do you give me an example maybe?
Yes. So say for example, like you can use what's called like the ignorance prior
Mm-hmm.
in based on like say for example like before you know like anything about the presidential candidates, like you say okay like 50-50, like whether or not one of them will win. So you then use some research.
Unfortunately, I've known way too much about both of these candidates for a long time.
And so like
and they are at 50-50 because they're both terrible.
So that's like maybe one of the things, the first thing you consult is the polls, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
the polls say that one of the candidates has a better chance of winning.
Mm-hmm.
And so like based on the polls, then you adjust it your percentage closer to what the polls say. So say the polls say.
So the majority of people want to go this way.
Yeah. So you say like the polls maybe the polls say like 65, like to like what 65-35.
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, well, my first estimate like is just based upon ignorance, and so like I'll go ahead and shift it to 65-35. You know.
Match that. Okay.
Yeah. But then like you find some other information that suggests it might be a little bit closer, and so you look at the information, you weigh. I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna pull it back a little bit. You know, maybe like 60-40.
So assigning that number really is kind of you deciding how important is this issue to me, or how important is this information to me based off the information I've previously gained.
Yeah.
And that'll I think I understand.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of so this way like and something I've noticed like when avoiding overreaction is that sometimes we don't give enough weight to like what we already know, but you also don't want to like completely disregard new information.
Well, because new information is exciting and you want to.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I can.
I've definitely done that. Yeah.
Because I'm a very curious person. Like I love new information, but I'll admit sometimes I'll throw out like some prior view that's totally legitimate just because I'm so eager to test out some new information.
That happens in politics all the time. It's like new information about Donald Trump, you see the polls change. New information about Hillary Clinton, you see the polls change, and it just goes on that. I was like, you guys should remember all of that, maybe. And I like this. This is a good principle. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah.
Continue. Sorry. It's just,
no. I mean, that's kind of it though. Yeah, it's just learning to like weigh information, and you can represent that in a probability. Like you know, we talked about weather before. Like you know, like when a forecaster says 70% chance,
there's a 70% chance. It's not a guarantee.
70% chance because like the information he's observed says that like he's 70% sure that there'll be rain that day, but he still accounts for like the uncertainty, like
because there are other signs that show it may not rain.
Yeah.
Or other signs that just simply show it's not as probable.
Yeah. Exactly. And that way, it helps you to be able to entertain ideas that like may seem to oppose each other without like causing psychological tension that like could cause you to like not be able to function as a human being. Because humans seem to have a hard time sometimes holding contradictory ideas in mind.
Yeah. Well, it's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah. And so, but when you can assign a number to it, and then kind of like it helps you to like kind of break it down into pieces and start to look at the granularity of it and be like, okay, like here's what's going on. And so it helps you focus on like a lot more of the process, like behind it. And as you focus on the process, like engaging that system to thought really helps you avoid like a lot of like the psychological pitfalls that come from like trusting in just your feelings or just like intuitive judgment. And it's not those things aren't important. Like, I think some of the most creative and like important discoveries and advancements are the result of kind of like the interplay between system 1 and 2. But like to give like one or the other too much control, can be dangerous. And so to be
like we said before, it's that balance. It's deciding when type 1 or type 2 thinking is more important, or going to be more useful in your situation and applying more of that at that time.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and it applies to everything. Like, for example, like, we joke about like dating gurus.
Mm-hmm.
And like sometimes like you ever like have something like I'll admit this happened to me, and I don't know how this happens on the other side of things, but like someone like says something about like relationships and you're just like, I gotta act on that now.
Yes.
Like that.
And that's your primary goal. I need to focus on this, and this is how I'm going to filter all women in all dating. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Overreaction.
Yes.
Like you give way too much weight, and sometimes it can be devastating because like you'll be in a relationship where there's probably information available between the two of you, but because of like someone said something that seemed like really intuitively compelling, and so now you're like, oh, I'm throwing out everything I know about this relationship, and I'm gonna apply that, and it's like.
Based off of this conversation, the drive home from your place, I'm going to be thinking of so many relationships today. And I'm going to be like, how far? Oh, no. And I'm probably going to overthink it and be too extreme about it because I have a tendency to do that. And understanding that it's helpful doesn't give you necessarily the power to change. Just understanding is useful.
Yeah.
So, not to move on, but there's something else that I've been thinking of. I've noticed a lot of kind of a problem that I've seen in specifically this current race. More so than ever, people are losing friendships and losing relationships because of their differences in ideas. And I've seen it tear friends apart. I've seen it create contention at my work. And I know it's creating contention for anyone who cares about it, anyone who loves to talk about it. And a lot of the YouTubers and different, sources of media that I take who talk about politics, talk about how I've lost friends based off my political ideas. Families are arguing, and it just seems like such a shame to me. It seems like we need, as humans or as Americans or whatever, we need to be able to argue without this level of emotion. We need to be. Joe Rogan talks about it a lot in his podcast of this team mentality. If I'm on this team and you're on the other team, so I must hate you to protect my team because my team is better than yours. And that is such a limit to progression.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that it is breaking relationships and people apart because it's just slowing us down. And it's a shame that it's happening over the worst candidates America has ever seen in its life.
That's what's interesting is that you want to throw out like these essential relationships over
someone who you don't like,
over a couple of clowns.
Yeah.
Like it's
maybe that's why the clowns are coming out. That's what it is. They're making fun of the politics. They're warning us.
The election.
Oh my gosh. We figured it out. They're here to help, guys.
Oh boy.
But
wouldn't that be true?
Wouldn't that be true?
But I think that's I think that's a good example of like overreaction.
Yeah.
And I almost sometimes I wonder if it's like because like you feel like when you have like this, you can go online and find people who support you in your views.
Mm-hmm.
Like because before like a lot of people look to like friends and family to kind of like anchor them.
Yes.
In a support system. But when you can go online and find all these people who will justify you, like if we don't feel like we have as much a need for like these relationships that are really, most people online are going to be there to support you if you like.
Not when you need it.
Yeah, no, you need it. But in the moment when you're not like really critically thinking about that, it can be easy to be like, well, F those people. Like I'm justified. Like this article says that I'm right. Like so, screw you. But like.
Well, then when you a big problem with it is when you sacrifice a relationship for an ideal, you become that much more dedicated to that ideal because you've given something up to be part of it.
Yeah.
And the more that you sacrifice, and the more that you give up, and the more that you hate because of that, the more dedicated you become to that ideal. Then thus repeating and worsening. Is worsening even a word?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Worsening the problem. Yeah. Worsening your dedication to this, and it's just such a danger that I wish I had a magical fix for, and I could just say 10 magical words, and everyone would forgive each other. But
yeah. But I think a huge part of that is the fact that like people when you say it, everybody's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But like a lot of people don't think about this, but what you think isn't as important as how you think.
Mm-hmm.
Like so much of like what really matters in life involves like the process and the method. And I think the growth mindset captures a lot of that, like how you're thinking about things, how you came to this conclusion, and learning from that process and learning to improve that process, as opposed to like what you think or like what labels you put upon things. And I think a lot of times we really like get mad at each other and like try to like reddish its throats over these labels,
mm-hmm.
when really it's like, well, let's step back and examine like the kind of thinking that led to like this conclusion or like believing this certain thing or wanting this certain thing. And it's interesting, like when you can look at it that way, you can kind of like, first of all, that understanding can like help reduce hostilities, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you can find, and I think this is an aspect of good negotiation. You can like find a good middle ground where like both of you like really want the same thing, but you have different ideas about it, or you labeled it differently, and you realize that the thinking behind it is like really similar. And I think like honestly, I think that happens a lot in relationships with family, with friends, and, like with significant others. Like I think I've seen that a lot where it's like, and it can be frustrating when you're the one who sees it. Like when you realize like we both want the same thing, but we're so obsessed with like the label we put upon it or how we think it should be that we can't look at the thinking behind it and recognize that like we're going along the same lines here. We just have different ideas about it. But if you break it down,
we want the same thing.
Yeah.
And we're heading in the same direction. We're just
Yeah.
One comic book to bring back the comic books, that I think has a lot, it just would be healthy for people to read if you have lost relationships from this, or if you're considering, you know, if you're not talking to someone over this, or unfriending friends on Facebook. It doesn't matter. It matters to some people. I shouldn't say that. Marvel Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
Between, you know, that in Iron Man and Captain America always struggled. And they always had their differences, but they always worked them out. And then you see they both take two passionately different sides. It happens in kind of the Injustice series of DC as well.
Yeah.
But more so, I think it's better. And I'm a DC, more dedicated DC, but I like this more in Marvel, the Civil Wars. You see two friends who never agreed, but always found a way to work together in the end. You see them completely separate, and you see what it does to the entire world. You see what it does to relationships all across the board, and how it just breaks things apart. And so that, I mean, there is yet again another example of how comic books can kind of teach us about our own humanity, our own problems, our own selves.
I think one really nice thing about like
I've shifted around so much, but I
did the same
this
thing.
Is just who I am.
I'm really bad about it too. But like, what was really interesting about Civil War is that like recognizing the havoc your conflict between you and someone else can have on other people's lives.
Yeah.
Is that like that's something I've noticed in relationships that like not a lot of people think about. Like it's something that I've tried to like be aware of.
You're emotional and you're upset and you feel like people need to be there for you.
Right? And it's crazy how many people can get pulled into a stupid conflict over something.
Mm-hmm.
And like and I as I've come to recognize, I try to be better about it. And I've even called people out for this, but I'm like, listen, like this needs to remain between us. Like it's not fair to other people to like drag them into this and wreck their lives. Like this it's not fair. And like comics like Civil War like teach that. Like Captain America, like part of why he surrendered. He's like looking around there. Like,
he was like, look at everything I have caused.
Yeah, because those people were yelling like, what are you guys doing? You're destroying our city. And he looks around and he's like, oh, like holy crap, like our stupid conflict is like ruining people's lives. And that highlights another issue about like relationships though, is that like Iron Man is still kind of pig-headed after that happens.
Yes,
he's still kind of douche, and that's kind of the issue with like sometimes.
Well, we would expect that from Iron Man.
Yeah, but the issue of like when someone feels like they've won the relationship, like
there's no winners when you break up. You both lost.
Yeah, everyone loses. But when you think, some people are obsessed with like thinking they've won, and when you think you've won, a lot of times that can undermine the kind of introspection that allows you to like learn from the experience.
Yes.
Like I've noticed some people are very obsessed with like feeling like they've won, and they will keep coming at you until they think they've won.
Well, I recently had a friendship kind of fall apart, and I feel like we were in that stage. I was upset until today was actually a really good day for me on that. Recognizing that I need to apologize and give up on my prideful side of it and be like, sorry, dude, I was an asshole. And I'm not certain, but I don't think he's there yet. And so I don't know if I'll do it on Monday, or I haven't necessarily decided how I'm going to approach apologizing and coming forward to him. Because, you know, when I first started, I wanted to be I'm justified and I am right. And in a lot of ways I was, but I have to admit that in a lot of ways he was as well. And it was dumb. It was dumb to begin with. But now I feel like I'm at that situation where he isn't in the same thought process I am. And so that approach that, all right, how do I do this, is worrisome to a degree, because it is, you know, you worry that you're only going to make it worse, or you're going to entertain that by me saying, hey, apologizing first, he's going to be, oh, I want even more, and that will strengthen that idea that he won the breakup or whatever it is. Yeah. It's not, you know, it's interesting, you know.
Yeah.
It's almost silly, you know. A lot of people say, oh, guys, when they break up, when they have a fight or problem, they just don't talk for a while and punch each other and get over it. Yeah, maybe it used to be that way. Maybe if we were fighting or had to hunt, or if we had to, you know, go save the world, it would be that way. But it's not necessarily that way anymore. There is those emotions tied into it. There is that, that need to be right.
Yeah. And it's dangerous, like you're saying, like.
Well, and this is a friend of 10 plus years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it especially intense when it's been a long thing, but again,
it's all because of a bitch.
Girls just breaking up bros, man. No,
it's not our fault.
But yeah, like, and so like, yeah, like you have to like be careful, like, not to like get in that mindset of like, well, I won the relationship, because if you don't learn from like what happened, if you're obsessed with, well, I won the relationship, I'm right, like
we said, you lose.
Yeah, you're gonna dive right back into that and like have that happen again. Like, you have to be willing to step back, even if you're the one who like you feel like you've won. You still gotta step back and think about like, in reality, we all lost, and like I need to like learn from this. So
but I lost less.
But in reality, we need to step back and like learn from this so that it doesn't keep happening.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the difficulties of like when some people have like a stronger tendency to like need to win, like, or feel like they've won, and that I think sometimes it prolongs like the painful process of finally figuring it out, because like they keep telling themselves in their minds they've won and that they're right, and they keep putting off like stepping back and really thinking about it and learning from it, so they keep making these same mistakes and keep sabotaging the relationships that they're in, and they get caught in a cycle, and like sometimes it takes getting like kicked in the balls to like realize like, okay, like now it's time to learn. And so like, and I think when you get in like a really bad like situation with some kind of breakup, like emotionally, it is really easy, especially in the heat of the moment, to like get caught in that mindset of like, I'm gonna win and I'm gonna be right, and I'm gonna be justified.
Him and I 100% do that.
Right?
Yeah.
But like, but to like, really like question yourself and to like be willing to like embrace the pain and then learn from it, Like I think a lot of that, like you mentioned before, the importance of like not like seeking revenge or feeling justified in doing bad because someone did bad for you. Like there's something to be said about just being willing to embrace pain and the anguish and like let it teach you.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest lessons I learned from just elderly people that I've talked to was, the time of your life right now is the most emotionally passionate time you're ever going to live. And when you're my age, you're going to miss that because you won't feel the same way anymore. And you're going to miss those bad times because you learn so much from them. And you're going to miss those great times because it's hard to feel that way now. Because you kind of, as you get used to life, it grows a little dull. Just like anything you do for a long time. And was one of, not even, I say most valuable lesson I've ever learned. One of the most valuable lessons. I haven't fully learned it. I know those. There's so many principles that I think everybody knows, and there's so many good ideas that everyone has. But in the moment, it's easy to forget those because your brain switches to a different level of thinking sometimes. When you get angry, when you get intense, when the adrenaline kicks in, and there's a reason our bodies do that. There's a reason our brains do that. It's, I'm not a biologist or psychologist or whatever it is, but there's a reason for it. But understanding that is important. Yeah. And understand, saying, well, I know this principle, but I don't know it perfectly, or I haven't yet fully put that into my life, and I can still work on that.
Yeah.
It's a progression. You can study books and you can study ideas and relationships and read and talk about them forever, but it doesn't give you the power to fix it. Those slow, methodical changes, that working on it every day. I'm such a proponent now of writing down goals. I remember my dad first told me to write down goals. I told him, no, I can put it in my head and it's just as good. Why? Because I wanted to be defiant. And it took me until I was in my 20s to start writing down goals. Just because I was defiant. And my dad taught that to me 8? Younger? Tried to give me a planner when I was a kid. And I don't necessarily use a planner today. But just that principle was taught to me a long time ago, and to this day, I'm not perfect at it, and I'm not even great at it. I'm not even good at it. I'm shit at it. I'm shit at writing down my goals.
It helps,
but I notice that when I do it, it helps. And so slowly, over time, I'm going to do it more and more because it helps.
Yeah, because you're seeing results from it. Yeah. I have like a note app on my phone.
Yeah.
That has the ability to save Google Drive, and so like I've started like when I have like a thought or something or a goal, I'll write it down in that note app, and then I can go back and review it. And I have like you can.
What app is that?
Right now, but know everything.
Know everything.
It's ironic because I'm trying to know everything.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I'd have to use that because I was about to get the Note 7 because it has a stylus and S notes, and I love writing things down, and I love having that. But they're still blowing up. I don't know if I can get a Note now. I don't want the Note 5. I want a shiny new thing. Samsung, why? Why is the coolest phone you have made to date also a hand grenade?
It was just so awesome that the hardware can't contain the glory of it. It just blows up.
Why does the world take everything beautiful from me? I am a victim. Everything is against me. I have the worst life that there could be, even though I have virtually free water and food. Not really, but it's easy to get. My life is still the worst. Basic bitch.
First world problems.
First world problems.
Oh yes. How long have we been
You
going?
know, just an hour 15 minutes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's not long as that.
No, it wasn't. I looked at it a little bit ago.
Good.
You know what we need as a human race?
What?
A problem to solve. That shit tends to bring us together.
Right?
I was listening to this guy recently, actually on Instagram. Tim Ballard. Have you heard? He's the founder of Operation Our Rescue. It helps stamp out child sex slavery.
Oh, okay.
And he was talking about it. And he was saying, just because slavery was outlawed a long time ago, but there are more slaves today than there has ever been. And that's a problem I think the world could focus on. That's I would love to dedicate my life to that cause and you know, into helping that. And in my education and possible work, I'm looking that way. I'd like to do it. It's a long possibility and very difficult to do in the way I would like to. But that's some shit that we need to stop. We need to stop worrying about all of this Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump. Fuck them both. Seriously, they're terrible. My vote is I'm either gonna vote for Gary Sanders, Gary Johnson, Evan McMullen, or I'm gonna write and retry.
Redo.
Yeah, no, definitely. Can you imagine that? That would be the funniest thing for me. Can we just get most of America to write and retry?
That'd be amazing.
What would they do?
I don't know.
They'd probably just hide it. And be like, Hillary Clinton won. By the way, Hillary Clinton's gonna win. That's it, guys.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It was always going to be that way.
Donald Trump's kind of hosed.
Yeah, well, he was shit to begin with. I'm not saying that like she's better than he. I mean, I say I hate them equally. I hate them both differently, and
For different reasons.
For different reasons. They're both shit. Not to get too political, but
yeah.
Vote your conscience. Don't vote. My biggest issue with the voting and how people are voting is they vote out of fear. And Republicans and Democrats both use that against us. And while a lot of people see that, they're still voting that way. I don't understand it. People are so scared not to vote that way. Please vote that way. It doesn't matter if you think someone's going to lose because of you. It just doesn't matter. Vote how you vote the person you agree with most, not because you're scared of an enemy. Because that is just an easy way to be manipulated forever. Rant on politics complete.
I like it. It's good.
Yeah.
I have to agree. I don't even have anything to say about that. You said it really well.
Yeah, well, look at that. I did something well. Woo! Yes!
No, for sure. I definitely agree, you know.
I can't think of anything else. I mean, we can be done.
Yeah, this is a good cast. I mean, I guess that's up to you guys, you know.
No, we don't need it is a good cast.
But, you know, if you agree, you know.
No, of course, share your opinion.
Yeah.
We do care.
Share your opinion, drop some likes, hit that subscribe button.
I love hearing that. It means we're like a real YouTube channel when you say those words. Drop some likes, hit the subscribe button, share. Pray for us.
Pray for us.
Always accept.
Like I think I should share this on my Facebook page. I mean, I swear, but I think everybody who knows me knows.
I will share it on my Facebook page. Saying, sorry, family, I said fuck.
Right? I mean, I think most people know by now.
Yeah, and no, all my family does. Just grandparents don't watch it.
I'll just be like, younger nieces and nephews don't watch it.
Whatever, dude. They swear more than you do. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. I'll be so happy to hear their uncle swear. Except for, I won't say her name. Your sister would get mad. Oh, your sister. We could do a podcast about her, couldn't we?
She's a pretty amazing person.
She's an amazing person.
She's quite the character.
Everyone says she's quite the character. My oldest sister today, I saw her on Instagram. She posted, for the first time I saw her post, "I can't adult today. Don't make me adult." And for the first time, I wasn't mad at reading that. She deserves that shit. She adults like a boss.
Right?
Nice work, sis.
Yeah, good work. Hooray for sisters. We'll maybe do a podcast about how awesome sisters are.
We do love our sisters.
Yeah, we do.
And I love your sister. I met her before. She used to tell me what to do a lot. We would argue. I loved it. I loved it. All right. End with a hug?
Yeah.
Why not? This is going to be tradition. We're always going to end with a hug.
Man.
Nothing really gay about it. It's okay to be gay.